In today's quest to see how quickly I can get demonetized, I'm going to talk about one of the most infamous films ever made. Fair warning, I'm not going to be able to show many images from this film, because if I did, John YouTube himself would descend from on high and beat me to death with Mr. Beast. Now, if you've never heard of the film called The House That Jack Built, I envy you. See, The House That Jack Built belongs to a very special group of horror films known as art house horror. Presumably because these films are only ever shown at Art the Clown's house. To understand The House That Jack Built, you're going to need to understand extremism in horror. See, once upon a time there was a man named Lars von Trier. This man sat down to watch a documentary on the History Channel about the Middle Ages. He carefully watched the History special and took note of everything that the History Channel didn't show. Then he took that list of horrors and made a film using only those bits. That's how you get films like The House That Jack Built. So, let's talk about Jack from The House That Jack Built, and why he is, in one of my opinions, one of the most thought-provoking villains ever. First, a brief summary of the film. The film follows Jack as he tries to build a house. Along the way, he helps out many different people, like helping local law enforcement, helping fix a woman's flat tire, helping raise an old lady's pension, supporting local businesses, going on a picnic, and buying frozen pizzas. Despite these hilarious hijinks and his own struggle with OCD, Jack doesn't listen to the doubters and builds his dream house. In case you couldn't tell, that was entirely sarcastic. See, Jack is a psychopath who kills over 60 people. The film is set up as a conversation between Jack and a mysterious figure named Verge, as Jack recounts his gruesome deeds in a series of 5 vignettes in this marathon 2.5 hour long film. Okay, disclaimer time. First, know your own limits. While I like this film, I wholly understand that this type of film is not for everyone. That's part of the reason I'm making this video, so you can learn about it without having to watch the film. This film shows some very disturbing scenes, and at 2.5 hours long, this film would be miserable if you find this type of content distressing. Second, I say I love Jack as a villain. This does not mean I, in any way, shape, or form, approve of, agree with, condone, sympathize for, or respect Jack. He is a serial killer and the most morally reprehensible character I have ever seen, who lacks a single shred of any redeeming quality. That was a long intro. Please like and subscribe if you're still here after my absolutely monolithic intro. Okay, now let's talk about Jack. Jack is a brilliant case study on the nature of human evil, and this comes down to 4 important things. The brilliant acting of Matt Dillon, the banality of evil, the house, and the final part of the film, called Catabasis. First, Matt Dillon. Matt Dillon sells Jack in an honestly horrifying way. Being one of only 2 characters who are in the film for more than 30 minutes, Dillon essentially has to carry 2.5 hours of film on his back in an all-time great performance. I could gush about the brilliant way he plays an absolutely terrible character in such a way that makes him genuinely feel like a serial killer. His portrayal of the berserker mode of the serial killer is horrifyingly intense, and the way he acts is so disturbingly uncanny and awkward that it makes all of Jack's actions infinitely more horrifying. But let's actually talk about the reason I'm making this video, and that is, of course, Jack's extremely messed up philosophy and the nature of pure evil. First, I don't think the vignettes portray Jack's actual thoughts. When he discusses each kill with Verge, he has a different explanation for why he committed the crime. I think this is done because Jack is less of a character and more of a representation of pure evil. Each reason Jack gives is a reason we, as humans, give for our own evil deeds. In the first vignette, his reason for killing is that it is simply part of nature. And nature is made to be violent. It is the purpose of those who have less to be preyed upon, so denying that would be going against our nature. The reason in the second vignette is that if there is a God, surely he would stop this. He wouldn't allow these horrible things to continue. So if he does allow them, that must mean they have been almost divinely sanctioned. And the third, the reason is tradition, along with some other things, but that was a little hard to figure out the exact meaning. And the fourth, the reason is a feeling of being unfairly judged. In the fifth vignette, it is in the name of the sacred rot. Essentially, it's talking about the fixation on death that human culture has. Jack isn't meant to be a character in these vignettes, as much as he is meant to be a representation of humanity's worst impulses. Each reason he gives is a reason we, at some point, give in order to justify our own failings. I think this is the first thing that makes Jack a great villain. His inconsistency as a character is meant to mirror our own flaws. The second thing the third, that makes Jack brilliant is what his fixation on building the house shows about us, about the nature of evil. Buckle up, because we are about to get philosophical up in this place. My thesis for this section is actually a hopeful one, and that is that evil can never win, because evil is an ultimately destructive force. Allow me to explain. Jack is fixated on beauty and building something that he thinks is beautiful. In this case, he wants to build a house. However, each time he builds his house, he tears it down, unsatisfied with his creation, because evil cannot fundamentally create beauty.
But Mr. Reviewer, what about Jack's house that he builds at the end of the film?
Okay, actually, that graphic feels a little weird. Let me just change it real quick.
But Mr. Reviewer, what about Jack's house that he builds at the end of the film?
That's better. The point is that it isn't a house. Jack's magnum opus is an abject failure. The house he builds is something I definitely cannot show on this platform, so instead I will make a recreation of it using Google Docs Draw feature. My point is that it doesn't functionally work as a house. It doesn't provide any protection. It doesn't even have fully solid walls, and it's already inside of another building. Jack fails in his creation on the most fundamental level because evil can never create any true beauty, only a warped facsimile of it. This is usually about the time where I would start to try to create a conclusion for my video, but now we still have like one whole more section because, yeah, this video, the movie is incredibly deep in symbolism, and that's why I almost would recommend it, because there's so much stuff I can't even cover that is intriguing and horrifying. It's truly a great, technically made film. We have one more thing to go over, and it is probably the most symbolism heavy part of the entire film. So strap in and get ready.
Stand ready for my arrival, worm.
See, the final part of the film is the epilogue, titled Catabasis. Before we begin, I will issue the spoiler warning for the first I will issue a spoiler warning for the first time in this video. The epilogue is rich in symbolism and it is best if you don't know what is coming. I truly love this film and would recommend it if you can stomach it. But again, know your limits. Don't watch something just because I recommended it if you think you would hate it, because it is a difficult film to sit through. But if you focus on the philosophy, I think it's an intriguing film. Okay, First and foremost, katabasis is a Greek word for descent, a perfect title for an ending that sees its characters literally descending into hell. There are a few items of symbolic importance in katabasis, and they show the true failing of an evil individual. Those symbols are the water wheel and the Elysian fields and what that tells us about evil. In katabasis, Jack is led by Verge, who at this point in the film it's clear is meant to be Virgil from Dante's Inferno, as this whole film is a pseudo-homage to Dante's Inferno. Anyway, Jack is led by Virgil into the afterlife, and a massive water wheel is shown. This was definitely the most confusing image in the entire film for me, but looking back, I think the water wheel symbolizes the permanence of our actions. Because just like the water that has flown through a water wheel, our actions can never be taken back. And I think that's very important, especially because we all do fail at times. So we can only try to make those things right, but we can never take them back. So we need to make sure we do is truly what is right. Let's talk, actually, about the reasons I think Jack is a brilliant villain. And that is, of course, his reaction to seeing the Elysian fields. Throughout the entire film, Jack has shown no remorse of any kind for his actions, and even claims that he regrets nothing. He's a truly remorseless and cold character. However, that changes when he is shown the Elysian fields, which is the Greek term for essentially heaven. When he is shown the Elysian fields, he cries, and all of his past deeds flash before his eyes. In fact, he is so desperate to reach the Elysian fields that he risks falling into an even deeper part of hell simply for a chance to make it there. Which of course he does, and we all laugh at him because he is a horrible and morally reprehensible character. But why? Not why do we laugh at him? I just gave you the answer to that. My actual question is, why do the Elysian fields, which is portrayed as essentially just an endless farmland where people work, so alluring to Jack? And what does that tell us about those who commit evil acts? Well, we actually have to look back towards the beginning of the film, because back to the beginning of the film, Jack reminisces about how he loved to watch the farm workers work in the fields, as a young version of Jack cut the foot off a baby duck. Again, he's an awful character, truly. Not because he enjoyed watching the hard labor or even enjoyed the thought of hard labor, but because all the people working in the field moved in unison. The breath of the meadows, as he would call it. And the house that Jack built portrays paradise as this endless toil. Why? Because it is a unison with others. It might be hard work, but it is hard work united with your fellow man. That is why Jack cries, because he will never have that. He will never be with someone else. He will never be with his fellow man. I have no pity for Jack, just a dull sense of disgust. Jack and individuals like them commit horrible deeds that preclude them from the very salvation that they yearn for. Jack is an abject failure, of being purely evil and purely empty, a pitiful and pathetic character. Remember that as you see the injustices committed in the world around you, evil will never win. Evil can never win. The houses and icons they built in the name of evil are husks damned to fall, just as Jack falls into hell at the very end of the film. I really did like this film. If you can stomach it, I'd recommend it. But again, it is a very, very distressing film. And I would say watch some lighter material like The Wailing and The Autopsy of Jane Doe. If none of that disgusts you, then go right ahead and watch this film. It's worth it. Anyway, I appreciate it. Leave a like. Please leave a comment. Comments, I've realized, actually help the YouTube algorithm, I think, more than likes or subs or anything like that. So please leave a comment. It's really nice. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in like always, and I hope you're having a great day. Peace.